joins us every week thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Austin, thank you for the time as always, keeping up with Tennessee football and recruiting, and both mattered this past weekend as toward the back end of last week, offensive tackle Jordan Seaton, one of the best players at his position in the 2024 class, decided, I'm going to take an unofficial visit to Tennessee. What did that mean for Tennessee? What have you heard about how that visit might have gone for the Vols with Seaton in town?
Well, it meant a lot. And, you kind of look at how his recruitment has transpired. And, he's kind of been a bunch of different directions, but it seems like he's starting to kind of find his footing in this recruitment. Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, kind of, I think, the top three. But, a lot of time left for some movement potentially. But I think it was big for Tennessee because we got him here unofficially, Josh. Get him here unofficially, and that means he's likely coming back for an official. But he's able to spend time with the staff, able to spend time with the commits like Drew Carter and Evan Stillman and Mike Matthews. And then the game transpires just like it would want. When you have Daniel Hill, a running back, on an official visit, and you have an offensive tackle here, how would the game, transpire that would be beneficial, right? And that's exactly how it transpired. You ran the football. You had three, running backs get in the end zone. You had a 100-yard rusher. Tennessee was able to play really, really good at the point of attack on the offensive line. Looked impressive. And Jordan Seaton can, take in the atmosphere, take in the game, and then also know there's a real path to the field at Tennessee next year because a lot of these guys won't be here. So I think the visit went extremely, well from everybody I've talked to. Jordan was very complimentary of Tennessee, and again, the fact that he was here unofficially and is supposed to be back here in November officially is a huge deal for Tennessee.
What changed? Because Seaton was going to Oklahoma, decided not to go and visit Tennessee. Was it recruits that are currently committed to Tennessee getting into his ear? Was it Tennessee's coaches? What was the big contributor factor to get Jordan Seaton to Knoxville rather than going to Norman, Oklahoma this past weekend?
I think it was a little bit of everything, Jason. I think that some current commits have been working on him, like Drew Carter, who saw him out of Colorado. The staff continued to work him. And then I think he's always kind of been intrigued by Tennessee. He did a 17-minute interview with Josh Newberg at On 3 about 3.5 weeks ago. And he never mentioned Tennessee. But then when I talked to Josh, he said, well, he was supposed to. Like, I teed him up, and the answer to one of the questions was supposed to be Tennessee, and then he said another school, and it threw Josh for a loop because they kind of talked about what they wanted to talk about in the interview before they did it. And, so Tennessee's always kind of been there, but for whatever reason, he didn't mention them. But I think he's been more and more intrigued by Tennessee over the last few weeks. And, again, getting him here unofficially is huge because now you can kind of pick your spot with him officially coming up in November, and you'll be able to spend a lot more time with him.
What do you think the plan is, short-term or long-term, with the offensive line and recruiting? Because when you look at the group that was out there on Saturday, there's a lot of guys in that group that may not be here. All of them may not be here. So I know we have some currently committed. What do you think is the short and long-term plan with this offensive line as we transition from Joe to Nico? You want to protect Nico moving forward.
Well, I think that they have to be able to find some players who can come in right away and play next year. I mean, you're right. They could literally lose everybody that was out there. Ollie is done. His eligibility expires at the end of the year. Cooper technically has another year. Spraggs technically has another year. And then so does John Campbell and Gerald Mincy. Now, they could all conceivably decide to move on and try to play professionally. That you could get one or two back, and then, I think that'll have to be a decision that they make, the staff makes. But either way, there's going to be a lot of. So I think the plan is to hit the portal hard, and then try to land Jordan Seaton, continue to develop some of these younger guys. What can Bennett Warren give you in year one? What about Gage Genther? Right down the list. Some of these younger linemen, whether it be Aiden Buckle or Sham Umarov, can they develop enough in the next year to all of a sudden you feel better about your kind of situation? right now Tennessee's really thin on the offensive line, and if they can stay healthy, they're going to be fine. But like they kind of are at receiver right now. They're an injury or two away from being, woof.
Austin Price is with us, Volquest.com. He joins us each week thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Austin, the injury to Brew McCoy, so unfortunate to see that happen to him. He is lost for the season. Dante Thornton was out this past Saturday. Where does that leave Tennessee? I'm sure the off week comes at a good time in trying to figure out that position. Where do you think that leaves Tennessee in terms of where they are in the passing game moving forward, getting ready for A&M next?
Well, they're a couple of plays away from them. They're just not real thin there. I mean, like, Dante Thornton's got to get the hamstring healthy. Now, Jason knows those hamstrings, man, they can flare up at any time. And so, Squirrel White's not the biggest guy. He takes, a big hit like he did at Virginia, and all of a sudden he's, in a tough spot. So I think they got to wrap Ramel Keaton and bubble wrap. Much like I said, they need to wrap Super Amazing bubble wrap back in the summertime, and they didn't do it. They got to wrap Ramel Keaton and bubble wrap. And they need Caleb Webb, they need Chaz Nimrod to take a step. Now, I think the one good thing is because some of those older guys missed those scrimmages in fall camp, Nimrod and Webb have been catching balls from Joe a lot more than maybe they would have had they been truly hardcore backups in fall camp. They were really running with the ones for a portion of fall camp, so I think that helps. And then they need, some players to kind of, take a step. I think Tennessee will try to get creative. I would say that D. Williams' days on defense are probably over, and I would look for him to potentially get a look at receiver. And, again, how does Tennessee get creative by using McCallum Castles? How do they get creative with using maybe a guy like Ethan Davis? I think Jacob Warren becomes Tennessee's most realistic, from the 10 in type of throw it up and go get it kind of player. And that's something he always did well at Farragut. But, when he got here, you had Marcus Callaway, Juwan Jennings, you had if they have that right now. Jacob Warren is probably the most realistic. Maybe Dante Thornton, but again, Dante's not been on the field enough to really know. But as far as pure body, I think Jacob Warren, you saw him Saturday, kind of go up and smash it over the defender's head on the touchdown pass from Joe Milton. I think he can play that role for this offense. Again, they've got to find some, things to kind of work with, including, missing Brew's ability to block down the field in the running game. The guy was phenomenal out off the edge as a blocker. They will miss that tremendously.
Austin Price, Volquest.com. Big weekend for Tennessee, honoring the 98 team. Got dark mode, first home SEC game, but it was a big weekend for recruits. Daniel Hill, four-star running back, four-star corner, Cam Michael. What type of impression did Tennessee leave on some of the big-time recruits that were here in attendance?
Well, I think Cam Michael, I think Tennessee is – I don't think he's a lock to the ball. I think Tennessee was 3 coming into the weekend. I think they've moved past South Carolina, in my opinion. I think Alabama's still probably the team to beat for him, but Tennessee showed really well with Daniel Hill this weekend. And so I think Tennessee, has improved their standing. Now the question is, when does he do something? Does he take it all the way to December? Does he do something in the next couple of weeks? I think if you're a Tennessee fan, you want this thing to go into December because I think you want Tennessee to have more time to continue to work on and all that. But again, for having a running back in the stands, 238 yards rushing, 100-yard rusher, 3 running backs scoring touchdowns, all that stuff resonates for a running back.
Do you think his decision will be made based on what Jalen Wright potentially does, staying, leaving? Because, we're looking at a pretty deep running back group next year if all guys return.
Well, I think he'll have to decide before Jalen Wright ever makes his decision.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll be signed. I don't think Jalen Wright's going to announce he's leaving until, after a bowl game, which is in January. So I think he'll have to make his decision. But, at this point, I would be surprised if Jalen Wright's back. And then we'll see what happens with Jabari Small. He's got another year if he wants it, or if, just because he want to move on and try his luck somewhere else. I think, that's something you'll see a lot in college football this offseason. You saw it a lot last year. I think it's bound to be even more hectic this offseason with the transfer portal. I think there'll be plenty of people bouncing around, which is something that fans are going to struggle with because some of their favorite players, could end up elsewhere, and you could end up with somebody else's favorite players.
Swain, what'd you think? D. Williams, a look on offense maybe during the bye week here?
The perfect time to do it. I know D. Williams, he's been Austin he can back me up on this. I know he's been kind of politicking and trying to get the ball in his hands a little bit more, even if that means playing offense some. So I like the idea. Now you have to do it because of the injuries to the wide receiver group.
Yeah, again, you have to find ways to be creative. He's not giving you anything on the defensive side. He doesn't play. I wouldn't even say he's in the 40. So why not put him in a spot where you're really, really thin just to give you a body? And then, again, it's all about, you've got to learn it first. So, it's not like he's going to be rolling out there for Texas A&M and all of a sudden he's going to be making plays on offense. Maybe you give him a play or two that, you put in a certain situation. But here's the thing. For Tennessee, because they love to go tempo, once he's out there, unless the ball goes, runner goes out of bounds or there's, a stoppage, it's hard to get him off the field. So you have to put him in a situation where he can be successful as well for an entire drive. And I think that's something that could take some time. But again, Tennessee right now is searching for bodies, and, I think that's kind of where they're at.
All right, Austin, you don't have to say yes or no because it's probably state secret, but blink if you've heard that at Alabama, Tennessee plans to run a speed option with a direct snap to Dylan Sampson with D. Williams lined up next to him. Is that the plan?
Oh, look at that, man. Those eyes are wide open.
Okay. That tells me that he can't say. So prepare.
That tells me he hasn't heard that yet.
Jordan Seaton, a big focus right now in the recruiting trail. Other prospects, as we mentioned, of course, Tennessee preparing for Texas A&M. That's the top priority here in the middle of SEC play. Austin Price keeping up with Tennessee football recruiting, and joining us each and every week thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, making it unique, making it special, making it just for you. They want to be your jeweler there at Rick Terry Jewelry Design. Austin, thank you for the time as always. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week.